Welcome, everyone. Please stand for the prayer and for the pledge as well. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we seek your help with affairs today. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of our own. We are of various opinion here, yet we wish to discuss our differences and reach agreement that is satisfactory to all. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to call this meeting to order for Tuesday, August 21st, 2018 at 6:35 p.m. I'd like to have roll call, please, at this point.
Alderman's Tyler. Here. Pecoraro.
Here.
Berube.
Here.
Broad.
Here.
Zadzilka.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Erica G. Pappas and Assistant City Attorney Nick Robinson.
All right, at this point, the mayor, if you don't have any opening comments, we have a presentation to make. And then after that, Bill Davignon, we will have you open with some comments before we do a public agenda comment, okay? All right, so, you ready?
This next part of the meeting is what I consider much more important and much more pleasurable than hearing any comments from me. So we'll proceed with that, and Mr. Pecoraro.
What a great day.
Yeah.
And I want to just say that Rich Andrus, who is a legislator for us in Niagara County, and I, about a year ago, came up with this idea of a veteran banner program for North Tonawanda to recognize veterans. And John Lukasik was one of our inaugural displayees on the banner wall, so we appreciate that. But Rich couldn't be here today, so I'm filling in for him in honor of Mr. Bill Gosh, who was a Marine during World War II and tells me great stories of his service, and we really want to appreciate your service. In that case, this entire council and the city government put together our funds to say we want to honor you and recognize you. So on your behalf, I'd like to read you a proclamation from the Niagara County Legislature. It's a citation. Whereas Niagara County has been blessed over these many years with some exceptional individuals who have made this a great place to live. And whereas one such individual who has left a valuable legacy through his dedication to the United States Marine Corps while serving in World War II and the Pacific Theater and to the city of North Tonawanda. And that person is Mr. William Gosh. Whereas Niagara County is extremely proud of its citizens who serve as members of the various branches of the United States Armed Services. And whereas Niagara County is grateful to those who have placed their lives in danger while defending our country so that the citizens of Niagara County and these United States remain free. Whereas William is a reminder to us of the devotion of our veterans to the ideals of freedom, and always remember these heroes can never be forgotten. And whereas William loved to help others, always participated in events, and always supported his North Tonawanda community and was touched by so many. And whereas William, known to host a community gathering for his famous dessert parties, which I participated in, and we really do appreciate that. Now therefore be it resolved, the Niagara County Legislature does hereby honor William Gosh for all his scholarship, leadership, and dedication to Niagara County. We honor him today. In witness thereof, Keith McNull, the chairman of the Niagara County Legislature, puts his hand and official seal with the Niagara County Legislature on this 21st day of September 2008, also undersigned by Richard Andrus, your neighbor and 8th District Niagara County Legislator. Mr. Gosh, thank you very much.
start. And as Mr. Pecoraro just said, it's not over yet. The city proclamation isn't quite as long, there's some repetition, but you can't repeat enough sometimes some of the things that these individuals have done for our community and for our country. And along with this, rather than me doing this whole thing, since all of us, I'd like the 5 council members to come up here with me, because I want all of us to recognize Mr. Gosh and your accomplishments and so on. But anyway, I'm going to start down there with Alderman Tyler. Just take it stanza by stanza there, and then I'll just complete it at the end.
Whereas the city of North Tonawanda has a rich history of citizens who have left a legacy throughout the years, and
whereas one of those individuals is William Gosh. William has been a lifelong resident of North Tonawanda, and
whereas William was private first class in the United States Marine Corps while serving in World War II in the Pacific Theater. North Tonawanda values its veterans and active members of the United States Armed Forces. Banners are displayed throughout the city commemorating these former and current soldiers. And
whereas William is one of those heroes that not only makes North Tonawanda proud, but also makes the United States of America and its people proud for their sacrifice to serve and protect the freedom and ideals on which this country was built. And
You get a sharp one because you read it.
Okay. Whereas William was the manager for Richardson Boat Company and served in the North Tonawanda Housing Authority for several years. And
Whereas William is known for his kind heart and love to the North Tonawanda community. He would regularly attend events going on in the city, and still does. He also hosts neighborhood gatherings, including, and it's been mentioned, those famous dessert parties that none of us want to miss. We love it. Now therefore, be it resolved, I, Mayor Arthur G. Pappas, and the North Tonawanda Common Council proudly recognize William Gosh. Oh my gosh, Mr. Gosh. This is all for you. And let's see what we have here.
awesome.
Recognize that guy?
That'll be displayed with the other veteran banners up at the farmer's market.
That's where I want it.
All right.
He hasn't even changed.
I still got the same keys.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, now you can either take this with you, or we'll have it put up for you,
Fine, fine.
okay?
You don't want to get on a ladder. and put it
Yeah.
yourself.
I wouldn't want to. You can say anything you want.
Yep.
let's give him another round of applause.
I prepared a little speech here for what it's worth. I don't think you have to repeat my name. I was born in 1923 at 5 Niagara Street, which is no longer extant. Niagara Street is, but the number isn't. I attended Boundary School, Belton Grammar School, George Lowry High School, played football at Better Stadium. Joined the Marine Corps in 1942, received battle stars for campaigns on Bougainville, Cameroon, Guam, and Okinawa. Okinawa was tough. I Graduated from Nine University in 1950 and have had more jobs than you have fingers and toes. Married my wife Lois of 68 years in 1950. Retired from the North Tonawanda Housing Authority in 1979 and went into the jewelry business in Hawaii. I'm now living in the only house in the city with a red clay tile roof. I want to thank everyone for the honor of this recognition. Thank you. It makes me feel good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor.
At this point, Bill Davignone, would you please step up and, I just want to go over a few things before we have the open public comment on the agenda, just to kind of walk us through a few things in case some of the members have any questions.
Sure. I realize this is kind of a long process. I took up the whole agenda just for one item, but it is a process. First, we're going to be looking to approve Nussbaumer and Clark, who is the engineering firm you folks already approved, to apply for the grant. The second item is the seeker. That's an environmental quality review, which we already did by our Dale Marshall, our city engineer, already did that. And you folks will be approving that. There's really nothing environmental about it. We're replacing pretty much in kind. So unless we were changing the shape and the actual physical structure of the building and any major changes were going on, there is no change as far as that goes. Authorization for the grant agreement. Basically, it's for the extra work of the variable speed drives, the electrical work that's gonna go with it. You already agreed in principle at a workshop to do this. Now we're codifying it for the grant, just by you guys approving it tonight officially. And then the authorization for appropriation of funds, which you guys.
Excuse me, could you, I know you have some questions, so.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
That was my fault.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
asking a
Oh,
question.
absolutely.
Nick had questions,
Oh,
but
go ahead.
it's more just structured. So like, Bill, the question I have that comes to mind is, the masonry work, the
Oh,
repairs.
the other item, yes.
Right, and I know it seems like a simple thing, so we took an initial bid of around $77,000.
Correct.
My concern, and, I don't know if concern's the right word, but a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes, firms will put in a bid. It'll be a low bid maybe, or a high bid or so on, but chances are municipality will take that low bid, right? Because
Right.
it's just due diligence and, the best deal, more or less. But the best deal isn't always the best quality, right? That's always something to put in mind. I haven't seen the building. I don't know what needs to be done and so on. But again, my background is different than everyone else's on the council, as, vice versa. So, not everyone can look at a building and say, okay, it needs to do this, this, this. So now when I see change orders, sometimes it can be a way where it sort of sneaks in some extras, right? And this is, this is not a finger towards you or
No,
the
sorry, I got explanations,
contractor.
believe me.
Basically just sort of making it apparent that like this can happen, right? That maybe it's a low bid, they get that bid, but then they end up putting enough change orders, as this is an example, where it's now $1,000 over the highest bid that we didn't take. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if it's something where, me personally, I need to just help look through them with our city engineer, yourself, so on, with some of these more architectural bids, I suppose, happy to do that.
The engineering staff for the city was fully involved with this every step of the way. In fact, they came and did the inspections with us. Every time a change order was approved, the assistant city engineer, Chelsea Spar, was on site and reviewed it with us. And the first one basically addressed the lintels above the windows, and you can't see that until you start exposing the brickwork, how bad it is. And some of them they weren't done proper in the first place back in 1950s when the addition was put on, the sand filter building addition. So they all bowed. And then the windows, the glass block windows we had, they were all cracked. The whole first two rows were just cracking, and we had cold air blowing through there. It was just a really poor design, so we had to have all that done. You couldn't see it from the outside initially.
You couldn't see the lintel, and you couldn't see the cracking on the window from the outside?
You could see the cracking, so we knew it was bad, but
So
they
maybe
thought
that
they could
means a
just.
fault in the lintel, at least from my perspective. then.
Right. But I think they thought they could fix that, if the glass block wasn't too bad, that they could just fix it in place. Again, they looked at this, I think it was in February, dead of winter, very cold. So they didn't get up there on a ladder because we had some snow and stuff like that. So, you know, is that the fault of us or the
Weather.
contractor
Right.
for not, maybe we could have waited till better weather. But we really wanted to get this work done because the back side of the building, in fact, I think the second one was the east elevation and filter building. When they got back there and actually exposed that brick around the corner from where I'm talking about, the whole, what do you call it, the south side windows were bad. So when we got around the east side, came around the other side, the brickwork, actually, when he started working on it, he pulled on it, and when I say the whole wall, everything started coming out. We thought it was only the first couple rows of brick. So they didn't know until they got up there how bad it really was, and everything behind it was rotten because there was no coping up on the roof, and all that water was running behind the wall.
Right.
So you can't see that damage again until you start removing the bad brick that we could see. So they started removing that, and as it got lower and lower, they said all this needs to be replaced, because if you don't do it all, so again, Chelsea agreed with the
Right,
two.
things happen, I
Right.
get it. So just a point to be made is we always have to be wary, and I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping up on some of these change orders, because it's not you that I'm gonna be going after, it's any contractor that might be trying to slip in a change order, maybe, right?
Okay, sure.
The chance, so I'm gonna do my due diligence, so, you know, you don't sort of get the end of the stick, or how they would say, and these situations where we are tacking on more money to a project we thought would only cost 77, so, but, thank you, it's just.
I'm
important.
confident that you're going
Yes.
to do what's right, and looking at the pointing and that particular thing that we just were talking about, you know, if you have spots that are missing and the failure on the edges of these bricks, you're going to get water seepage, you're going to get problems. You can't paint over or, you know, go over and do, and we've talked about this before, you know, it hasn't been done in a long time. There are certain things we need to make allowances for to have it done. I trust you as the department head to help prioritize what needs to be done. So I'm not doubting any of the things that you're saying. It's just that, like I said, a lot of these things are coming at once.
Right.
And I just figured, we'll go over one by one just to make sure everybody in the public is understanding what we're doing. So I think you left off at, and I just didn't want Austin to miss anything because he was in the sidebar. And the next thing I think we were at was the, passive seekers, so the authorization to grant agreement for the standby generator.
Right. We're authorizing them, we're authorizing Nussbaumer Clark to actually apply for the grant. And we have to have the mayor's signature, I believe, on that, obviously. So that's why you're gonna have to authorize that. And then for the variable frequency drive, that's basically electrical work that we approved later at a workshop. That you guys approved in principle, so they did all the draft work on it, and it's been included in the plan. And then the last item, where was I? Oh, we also wanted to add to that was the replacement of the diesel tank. And the reason we added that is we received a notice of violation for that. We've since corrected those problems. It was minor. They thought it'd be worse because it's a 1978 tank in the ground at the island for our generator and for our boilers that we heat. So we have diesel fuel in there. And basically the DEC came in on an inspection, oh boy, April something, early April I think it was. They thought it would be a lot worse, so we had it tested, pressure tested, everything came out good. We had to hire a company to do that. So we're good for one more year, but they want to go on a year-to-year basis just because of the sheer age of the tank and their nervousness that it's underground and the river is right there. So they are asking us to look into building an above-ground tank. This was the DEC's recommendation to me, but they said you can go with one-year inspections as long as you want, but you're going to have to keep going through this every year and recertifying it. And again, we're going through the capital improvement plan now, so if this doesn't pass now in the grant, we can add it to the capital improvement plan. It's already going to be identified, trust me. We already have it on our target list. But we thought we would put it in with this because it applies to the generator. And at this time with these WIA grants that New York State's offering,
We get 60%.
I have the 60% reimbursement. So that's an awful lot of money. So we added that to the project. But if it does not go in, it's going to be added on as an add-on. That we can buffet style our application. The core of the application is the grant itself with electrical, but then some of the electrical, the variable frequency drive part of the electrical is gonna be put on as an add-on, and then so is the generator gonna be put on as add-on. So if we can't afford those bids, or we don't get the grant back, let's say we don't get all of the grant for some reason, they offer us $1 million, and that's not enough for our liking and you guys would like to do some of the things at a later date, we can then remove those couple of items from the bottom. We don't need to do them. The core item that you passed, that we've already financed, that we already have the money from in reserves, was the 1.4 million you folks authorized to be transferred earlier this year for the generator and the initial work, the initial electrical work. So we have that money covered. So I'm not really deeply concerned about this. I mean, this project's gonna be a go. We would just like to get a bigger bang for our buck. So the larger the application, the more money we can get. If we can get 60% of that, comes out 1.16 million or whatever it was. Well, we already moved 1.4 million. So we have more than enough money to cover this if we get the full grant for the full amount. And we got twice as much for our project than we initially wanted. So it really seems like a win-win to me, and the way we're gonna write the grant, well, Nussbaum and Clark's gonna write the grant. The way they're gonna write that though is again in buffet style, where the first part we're gonna apply for guaranteed. The generator we have to have, with the electrical to hook into the panels and everything else. Other than that, the other ones are just, we can move them out if we don't like, if you don't like what you see in front of you, and we don't like the way it's gonna be financed. So it's really kind of it in a nutshell.
And we're taking advantage of this because, you know, we have an aging infrastructure. When people think of infrastructure, we think of the sewers, we think of the drains, we think of the water lines to your home. We also think of the roads. You know, our wastewater plant is, and our water distribution are very important. So we have to also consider them as infrastructure for our day-to-day services with water.
Also on the timeline is this grant itself, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act is only 5 years. Guaranteed, they said so from the beginning. It's $5.5 billion over 5 years for water and wastewater infrastructure, then it's done. So we need to get into this because it's already year 2.
Yep.
I don't want to be left at the.
No, we need to take advantage right now. So,
Well, it is a good
Bill,
opportunity.
just a separate follow-up question, but still on repairs. The roof, you'll be submitting that. I know I guided
Already
you.
moving on there. We're all
So we're already good on that, because we don't want a Band-Aid on that, like some others have said. I'm leaning towards a full
He has going
replacement.
into paper tomorrow.
Great.
There needs to be options.
Yeah,
we
and
need-
that's
There
it, so we're
needs to
putting
be
it out to
options,
public bid.
not full
Right.
replacement, but there needs to be other options. We ask for
And
courses of
recommendations.
action,
Right.
for recommendations, not full
Yes,
replacement.
and Dale Marshall's recommendations.
And so
He
did
wanted
Dale
to-
recommend a spray foam with a low R value and 10-year warranty?
He actually says that we need to do what I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and that's to do this repair temporarily until we can actually allocate the right funds to get the right roof.
The repair was 20,000 less than a full replacement that would last 30+ years. That's how I saw
My
it.
problem with the repair is some of the
I know.
original bidders wouldn't even do it, because they said a repair isn't prudent at
Doesn't
this
make
point,
sense.
because the damage is so.
So it's not prudent,
it's-
but it's also at an inopportune time where we actually were originally looking at emergency funds for this.
Right.
But now we're
So-
probably,
Well, my opinion is still an emergency.
we'll get some good bids out of
Right.
this next round and get it done right.
Get
So
better
we'll have a lot of
prices.
options.
Yes,
We'll definitely have a lot of options. That's for the wastewater roof. We jump subjects on everybody. The main building
were
of the
fine.
wastewater treatment plant on River Road has a pretty bad leak, and it's right over some integral equipment that we have. So we're looking at repairing that, so.
Right,
great.
thank you.
Bill,
Bill.
thank you. Your head's
Thank
gotta be spinning at this point, right?
I got other stuff you want me to talk
Oh,
about.
no, just wait. We can only handle so much.
Thank you, Bill. At this time, we can actually move on to any comments on the agenda, especially since some of this agenda was addressed by a department head. Anybody wishing to speak on tonight's agenda, please step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. We just wanted to have some clarity, so thank you, Bill.
Congratulations, Mr. Gosh. My name is Sonia Duza, and I reside at 123 Miller Street. On the agenda, one of the first items is number 1, David Kenyon, Kenyon, regarding resignation from the City of North Tonawanda Planning Board. I'm curious, I've read the letter, I don't have all the words in front of me right now, but can you tell me what precipitated his resignation?
He doesn't indicate that in the letter.
I don't know.
What did you say, Mr. Zazelka? Would you use your microphone?
I'm using the microphone. He didn't indicate that in his letter. He said there were various reasons why he was unable to serve.
Sonia, I know having conversations with Mr. Kenyon, he was having a stretch of where his work was conflicting with being available for meetings.
Is he a registered landscape architect?
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't know that until I was reading. It's good to see that. Could use some RLAs and NT. Also on, I wanted to ask, Davigon, Bill, regarding the secret determination for the city of North Tonawanda standby generator and variable frequency drives replacement project, what criteria precipitated the requirement of a secret determination?
Anytime you're putting in new equipment and stuff like that, we're doing it right now for the capital improvement plan and the wastewater plant, also we do a secret. They just want to be assured the DEC, EPA, they want to be assured that you are not making major changes to the design of a facility. We are assuring them by writing a secret, we're putting changes in kind, exactly as they were. It's going in the same spot. It's just going to be new wiring, new equipment, replacing the old equipment.
They want to be sure you're in compliance.
Because if you do make major changes, you have to contact the regulatory agency, either the Department of Health for the water plant or the DEC for the wastewater plant to make those changes. Like we're going to be going through that with our ferric chloride chemical storage tanks in the wastewater plant because we're going to be changing that. We're going to have a secret done, but because it's going in kind, it'll be okay. But because we're changing the process, the design of the process, I still have to have that approved though by the DEC, even though the secret will not cost the city any money because it's being changed in place. But we'll have to have the DEC come out and inspect all that equipment.
It's good, I'm glad to hear that. I think you're doing a good job and I'm glad for it. Keep it up. Just try to keep the expense down. I have to agree with Mr. Tylek. And Mr. Tylek, I appreciate your comments. I thought what you thought sometimes. The lowest bid sometimes is not the best.
Right.
The best, I think one of the things is besides the dollars is the quality, person's reputation, and the kind of work they do. So remember what he said, and it's always good to have expertise. I know he's young, he's not a mason, but he's got a lot of knowledge and experience. Thanks, Mr. Tyler.
And Bill, again, you did your due diligence. It's nothing against you. It's just bringing up a thought about it, right?
I understood that when you were
You know,
saying that. And he understood it.
Unforeseen things obviously happen all the time.
Also, regarding the Historic Preservation Committee, let me first of all mention, maybe a year or two now, I've been looking at minutes, and every time, and Mr. Quinn can back me up on this, I never see the minutes of the Historic Preservation, or maybe it's their agenda is never put out there. And I think if they had an agenda that people could read, they might be attending because, you know, people care about their neighborhoods in our older buildings. So I mentioned that to you. Would you please nudge them that the community has a right to know what your agenda is? I attended the Legacy Preservation, and I'm so glad I did. I met some very prominent, knowledgeable people, and I learned quite a bit. I'm glad I went. I've always appreciated the historic preservation because NT is historic preservation. We're what, over 150 years old, something like that? You know, it's not only the Boundary area that has quality homes. There are very humble but quality homes, even in the avenues, believe it or not. And so you should not equate the barons with the cream de la cream. It's just a part of the city that there were people who were in the lumber business or some kind of a business they own. There is other places within North Tonawanda that has quality. And so when I read the scope of the consultant's work, I'm interested in it. I'm very interested, and I think a lot of us would like to know more about the history of those individual homes in that neighborhood. And so please, please, I'm telling you right now, I'm notifying you to keep people abreast, not just the minimal requirements when he's gonna have an open session so people can learn about it. But as things unfold, I don't see Mike. like,
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman here, but please keep us informed on what's happening. It's interesting what's contained in his scope of his work. And when I read it, I'm thinking, my goodness, it's so emphasizing this is precious stuff. But this is not the only neighborhood that's precious. When you compare how over the decades, I've heard about the Barron's neighborhood, and you look at other not large mansions, there are other neighborhoods that have been not only neglected, today they call it what, disinvestment by the city. This has happened for decades.
Thank you,
The
Sonia.
city has not put money or code enforcement to keep properties up. Hence, the quality looks like it's not, like it's shoddy, and some places are. But
Thank you, Sonia.
there was not
Thank
the
you.
emphasis in
Thank
appreciation.
you.
So I'm putting you on notice on that.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Sonia.
much.
Sonia.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's agenda and just the agenda only, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Anybody else? All right, seeing that there's none, we'll move on and roll the minutes.
Approval of minutes of the special session, August 14th, 2018.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka,
Second.
second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Proof of publication published 8/1/2018, a legal notice, invitation for bids for liquid aluminum for the water treatment plant, superintendent wastewater water. Proof of publication published 8/3/2018, legal notice, public information session to review proposed designs for improvements to Gateway Harbor Park, Director of Community Development. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we receive and file.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Berube.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Communications from city officials. David Kenyon, resignation from the City of North Tonawanda Planning Commission.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderman Braun,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Zazoka.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor on this item?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
From the city clerk treasurer regarding permission to remove 97 Felton Street from the appropriate in-rem foreclosure proceedings.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Berube,
We have a,
second by
mo-
Alderman Pecoraro.
we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Superintendent wastewater water regarding approval for Nussbaumer and Clark to apply for the New York State Clean Water Infrastructure Act of 2018 grant funds on the city's behalf.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro, second by Alderman Zazoka.
Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the superintendent wastewater water, seeker determination for the city of North Tonawanda standby generator and variable frequency drives replacement project. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman Berube,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried.
From the superintendent of wastewater water, we are authorization to execute a grant agreement for the city of North Tonawanda standby generator and variable frequency drive replacement project.
I'll make a motion that we authorize this.
Moved by
I'll second
Alderman Zazoka, second by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the superintendent of wastewater water, authorization for appropriation of funds for the city of North Tonawanda standby generator and variable frequency drive replacement project.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Alderman Tyler,
I'll second.
seconded by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. Can I also have roll call on this item, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
from the Superintendent of Wastewater Water, approval of project 2017-12, water treatment plant brick pointing and masonry repairs, change order number 1 and number 2, and final project acceptance.
I'll make a motion that we approve this change order.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka,
I'll second.
seconded by Alderman Berube.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carried.
From the Superintendent of Wastewater Water regarding award of bid for aluminum sulfite for the water treatment plant.
I'll make that motion that we award that bid.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro.
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the city accountant regarding payment of the abstract of claims dated August 21st, 2018.
Make a motion, we pay on the abstracts.
Moved by Alderman Zazoka,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call on this item, please?
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carries.
From the accountant regarding budgetary transfer to purchase a skid steer mini paver for the DPW and to cover unemployment insurance costs for the 2018 fiscal year.
I actually saw this in operation when our Department of Public Works was investigating whether or not they wanted to purchase this piece of equipment, and they were all for it. All the workers were for it. It's gonna simplify our jobs and probably make our road paving in the future that much more expedient and well done. So I'm gonna make the motion that we accept that
What is
paver.
that machine?
I'd like to
It's a
second that.
it's a paver.
I'd like to second that. There's a motion on the floor. We have a motion and a second. Let's do roll call for the budgetary transfer, please.
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro.
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carried.
Monthly reports, city clerk treasurer, police department.
I'll make a motion, we receive and file.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Berube, second by Alderman Pecoraro.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Semi-annual vacation and sick leave reports from the police department.
I'll
Make
make
the
the
motion that we receive and file.
I'll second it.
Moved by Alderman Pecoraro, second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Communications from others. Historic Preservation Commission regarding permission to accept the work scope and fee for the participation of a lumber baron cultural resources survey and National Register District nominations from KTA Preservation Specialists.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Moved by
second
Alderman
that.
Braun, second by Alderman Tyler.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call for this work scope and fee.
Alderman Tyler,
Aye.
Pecoraro,
Aye.
Berube,
Aye.
Braun,
Aye.
Zazoka.
Aye, motion carried.
From St. Mary and St. Moses Coptic Orthodox Church, permission to display a banner August 14th to the 27th on Payne Avenue to advertise their Egyptian festival.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Alderman Berube,
I'll second.
seconded by Alderman Braun.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. At this point, if anybody has any city issues for the good of the city and they'd like to step forward, state your name and address for the microphone. Step forward if you do. John, if you want to do it from your
Stay right
seat.
there, Mr. Kasich.
John, if you want to stay there, you can go right ahead and say it.
John Lucas, 454 Shane Street. The other day I was sitting on my porch, looking into the pine woods, which I always do every night if I sit on a porch. And I see 5 deer, 3 young ones and 2 adults. And somebody from the car released a dog and they scattered the deer into the woods. Now, aren't dogs supposed to be on leashes?
Yes.
In a park, any park? What can be done about that? I mean, you know, I love to watch deer.
Mhm.
They're nice animals.
Well, if you do see a dog running around for a time without a leash on, you could always call the police department, or we do have a dog controller now. So do we have a number officially for the dog controller?
Yes, it's posted online.
So we do have a number for that individual, and he would come and write them a ticket if they were still there. But, you know, we don't want you going out yelling at someone with a loose dog either, John, so don't do that. I know you're tough, but some of these dogs are bigger than I am.
I couldn't do it anyway. I didn't like it, you know, when they
Right.
released the dog from the car.
Yeah, that's not nice.
And,
Yeah.
I thought they were supposed to be on a leash.
You could report that car, maybe if you get their license plate, just to put it on some police officer's radar if they're doing that in multiple
I
locations.
wish I could do that.
Yeah. So we can get you the number for the dog controller if you'd like, and just so at the moment, if you see something going wrong, be our watchful eye. But,
Thank you very much.
yeah, was that it?
Congratulations, Tom.
Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business? Step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Not here to complain. Zach Nemick, 384 Robinson Street. I'm here to actually give some support to Superintendent Davignon. As a citizen of the city, I'm proud to see the improvements that he's driving as a department head for this city, actually. As someone who has personally seen the crumbling brick water filtration building and the equipment that is more than twice my age and the equipment that is being retrofitted in old and the new, I'm quite impressed with how he runs that operation to fight for the day that we don't have to come home and we can't turn on our sink or flush a toilet or take a shower, because I think this room would be filled with a lot of angry citizens if that was the case. So I think you guys have a true gem and a leader in the superintendent of water, wastewater, and the projects that he's heading up, as well as the capital improvement plan. So I think all citizens, myself included, owe him a great thank you for the work that he's doing on that project.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business? And for the good of the city, please step forward, state your name and address.
Good evening once again. My name is Sonia Duza and I reside at 123 Miller Street. For the welfare and good of the community, because my comments, questions has to do with basic governance, transparency, the duty of each elected representative and appointee on our local government. I'd like to remind you, if you don't know it, if you look at minutes, and this wasn't like this a couple of years ago, maybe a year or two ago, it was not like this. If you look at, for example, see meetings and agenda, the council video is this, 0. When you have a video, other municipalities, they have it on for a long, long time. It's not
Sonia,
like 1 or 2
You
weeks.
can, Sonia, if you click on the video, all
You're
of them
taking
will
up my
pull up.
time, unless you're gonna.
I'll pause it, Sonia, all of them will pull up. All the videos are online, they're all there,
Are they on that
Well,
link?
they're all on that link,
on the minutes, it
Yes, they
shows
are.
0.
they're all there, disregard that, they're all there, click on it and they'll all come up.
So it is there.
What do I click on?
You gotta
Minutes.
click it, it just says
Click the
0, but
minutes.
if you click on it.
Click
then
on the
it
minutes
goes
and
to-
all the videos will show up.
It
How about
goes
that?
to,
In the past, when I clicked that video, nothing, it came back 0.
there's no way to
I will
change
try
that.
it and see next time what happens.
Well, good, yeah.
Thank you.
Just link
You know,
it
it's
to
the same,
link
it's
it
the
goes
same
to-
with
I thought it
the,
goes to YouTube.
No.
common council agenda, you don't get it. Minutes you do, zoning board, yes, but it's like, for example, on the, zoning board agenda, 1018 are the current ones for this year. 2017, 0. That's what it shows, 0 files. Zoning board minutes, okay, six files, as it should be. for 2017, 13 files. That's what it shows, that's all. In the past, it would be, I believe, 10 years, and I thought, this is good. This is why record management had a template of keeping records for the municipality in the beginning of 1990s. George Macias was the clerk at the time. We should have more than just a couple of years. Moving along, I hope you'll consider what I'm saying, just because I'm moving along because of your
Let's do it.
5 minutes. Also, in other words, anyone wants to research your past records, planning, zoning minutes, they can't do it for what has been my practice lately. But I will follow up on what you said, Mr. Quinn. With respect to safety, security, health, and the general welfare of our community, I am once again calling for basics of governance, and NT, code enforcement. I've been at this since 1960, code enforcement, which I will be more specific shortly. A survey of dogs and cats of our population, I think, is a no-brainer. I mean, that's just basic governing. And you know, it should be both dogs and cats. In our cat ordinance, it says you check with the owner, because there's no license required, no registration of a cat. When that cat is maybe picked up, they don't know who it belongs to. You know, that is like a place that has violations, and the city stay out of there. Because if they stay out of there, they're not writing the facts. They don't have to write the facts unless they want to lie and get themselves in trouble. But the point is, when you do not hold cats, their owners responsible, you might as well throw that cat ordinance out the window. That's like, are you dumb? Don't you know if you want to control the population of the cats, protect them, protect people who has problems with cats, your hands are tied because you are not having cats being registered. Dogs and cats should be registered, and I think it's a very smart thing. I mean, it's a no-brainer to do a census. You know, I think there would be an improvement in the quality of life because the animals are a problem. That reminds me, about the code enforcement. We had litigation, we prevailed. They tried to bankrupt us, frustrate us, da-da-da-da-da-da, but you know what? I had an attorney who cared a lot. We prevailed all the way. In fact, the city was so obstinate, we took a motion of contempt. That is a black eye on a city. When they have a motion of contempt about that, we prevailed, our attorney's fees were paid.
When was that?
This city for decades, in my own experience, has violated their own codes and the judge's order. And I'm putting you on notice. Take care of what's wrong. Not only my place, but over the decades, people have bitched about the problems in their municipality. I use that word bitch to emphasize to you, I heard this for years.
I wish you wouldn't.
And this is what's kept North Tonawanda backward, sleepy, unprogressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city? Sure, John.
John Lucasek, 454 Shank Street. I object to registering cats. I have a cat, and it's an indoor cat, doesn't go outside,
Right.
and I wouldn't want him to be registered.
And you're a responsible cat owner, so you're keeping your cat under wraps, which
Absolutely.
I would imagine is the
Thank
case. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city?
Or the bad of the city, I guess.
I like to stay on the positive side, okay? And anything with the city. Anybody else? All right, then let's go into closing comments. Of course, we'll start with Alderman Austin Tyler.
So, let's see. So, Bill, yes, again, thank you for everything that you've been doing. I know you have a ton of work on your lap right now, and it's gonna continue into the year, so please don't leave us for any reason. You're not retiring for a very long time, so don't worry about that. But, I'm really excited to see that we're gonna be going after this historic historic, how would you say? Reservation. Going for preservation. Jeez, my words today. It's really gonna sort of enhance that neighborhood. You know, we already know how beautiful those houses are, and this is only gonna help it more so. I've gone to these historic preservation meetings, they're once a month, they're pretty interesting too. Something as small as just putting up a sign sometimes has to go through them, their approval, so if you have any time, they're not very long. But other than that, thank you for everyone who came tonight, and congratulations again, of course, and for sitting through this meeting too. Not everyone who gets recognized sits through it, so you're a tough one, so we can tell. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bob Pecoraro.
Thank you. Anyone that fought in the South Pacific as a Marine is a tough man. And I want to appreciate and say, Mr. Gosh, we really value your service. We value the veterans in our communities because this is a big deal, but even a bigger deal because you're a member of the greatest generation. And we along with Mr. Lukasik, who's here also. On a sad note, I'd like to just discuss one of our inaugural banner members, Mr. Stan Maziarz, passed away this past week. And he fought in Normandy in the European theater. He had great stories about when he met General Eisenhower when he was over there in Europe, and was always a breath of fresh air at our many spaghetti nights at the American Legion Post. And we'll miss him. And I'd just like to take a minute for a moment of silence in memory of Stan Maziarz. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Alderman Mark Berube, any closing comments tonight?
Well, with the close of summer coming down, just wanted to mention, this past Thursday, a bunch of us had attended the, last of the Thursday concerts over at Grant Park, which was a great event. And it is nice, being the first ward councilman, the number of events that have been held there this summer between the Thursday concerts, the boat races, the beer and wine festival we have there, the amount of people that we've been bringing into the city and stuff, and the events that we've been having there have been phenomenal this year. And with the closing of summer, I know a lot of it's gonna go away now, but it was a great summer if you were ever over at Grant Park.
All right, thank you, Mark. Alderwoman Donna Braun.
Thank you. I would just like to congratulate Mr. Gosh. I remember the first time I met Mr. Gosh. It was my first year out walking, meeting the residents of the second ward, and I started at your house and I ended at your house because you welcomed me into your home and you told me about the unique house that you live in and the red clay roof, and you took me through your house, and I hold that very close to my heart, and I just want to congratulate you, and it's wonderful seeing both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. City Attorney, Assistant City Attorney Nick Robinson. Any closing comments?
Just briefly, and I mentioned it last time I'm down here. I'm not down here enough to see everyone, but the police department has done this 9 p.m. routine. The newspapers have written about it. The police have done a good job advertising it. I'm telling you though, it's not getting through to the public. We had several calls this afternoon to my department, in particular my neighborhood, Zitzilka's neighborhood, my street alone. The police, the newspaper, they can only do so much to let everybody know. Make sure you lock your cars, make sure you lock your houses. It needs to be done. It's unfortunate, but we have to do it. If you can't protect yourself, police can only do so much. They come to the scene late, no fault of their own, but they come to the scene late and people are already gone with merchandise, wallets, CDs out of the car. And I know for a fact, last night, I think there was several of them that was called in. So do what you need to do with locking your house and cars. It's very important.
I agree with you, and that, yes, that street was hit hard, and I was told that there are kids with devices now that can tell if your car is locked or not. So they will pass it by to go to another car as they're kind of fishing through the neighborhoods. Sun Valley was affected, Fairmount was affected in this recent days, that would be your street, Meadowbrook. So it's Wurlitzer Park right now, could be your street, so the officers have told us and have said on Facebook, like public statements, please lock your vehicle at night. It's real simple, they won't go in it if it's locked. They obviously don't wanna get caught, but it's easy pickings if you leave your doors open. They're gonna try the doors, or they're gonna know where they're going and move on to the next car, and they're gonna collect some loot. And some people have important computers in their cars. Some of us have all of our work things in our cars, so please, as what Nick would say, it's very important. We want you to be protected, so please lock your cars before you turn in for the night. City Clerk Treasurer Dan Quinn.
Mr. Goss, I just would like to thank you for your years of service and congratulate you on your being recognized tonight. Also, the dog control officer, for those that want it, his phone number is 909-3091. 909-3091.
What is that?
909,
What is that for?
dog control officer.
You said 0934, Dan?
And his name is Eric Salisbury.
Like the steak.
All right.
And there was a great write-up, in the Reporter, I believe, just recently on him.
All right, and Mayor Art Pappas, any closing comments from you, sir?
No, a lot has already been said. The summer is coming to an end. It was a great season for the entertainment, both along the river and the canal. I think there's one more concert at Gateway.
At Gateway.
At Gateway. And, yeah, Hit and Run is coming, and so that's always very popular. So it's been very, very good. It's been, the organizers have been pleased this year, and the public, from the comments we've been getting, have been very pleased also. Something about the dog situation. I have spoken to the chief of police about the dogs and so on. Now, the police have had quite a good presence in town the past couple of years, and they have been patrolling our streets continually night and day. And for the size of our police force, they've been doing a fantastic job. And almost anywhere you go as you're driving across town, you're almost always going to meet up or see a car, a police car passing you by, or them passing you, or whatever, at an intersection. I've asked the chief, and he has agreed. He is stepping up the patrols at Pine Woods Park, especially in the late evening hours, to make sure everything's in order there. Also, with the dog control thing, I'd like to remind people that dogs are no longer allowed at the city market. We have an ordinance against that now. There apparently are still a few violations. Now that we have the dog control officer to work along with the police, there will probably be more patrols looking at that situation too. Dogs have no business at the city market, and that was decided by the council several weeks ago, and we want to enforce that. So all in all, I'd like to thank the public, thank everybody, because the contributions our volunteers in the city have made toward our botanical gardens and other areas. It's really standing out to show what a community we have that comes together. For those of you that haven't noticed yet, if you, on your way out, you might see right across the way there the new Children's Memorial Walkway is almost finished. They finally have had some chances to get in there and do some real work. We will be having a special dedication for that, hopefully within the next month or so. So, all in all, thank the community, thank the department heads, and Mr. Gosh, I'll tell you, we all are so proud of you and to have you part of the community. It's so nice to have you join Mr. Lukasik, to have these two World War II veterans here, side by side, here at this council meeting. And John, of course, is known as our #1 flag man, and we don't have to tell you about the American flag. But if you have a question, you go to John, and he has the answers, as we all do here in North Tonawanda. So, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mayor Pappas. And finally, myself, just a few closing things. We had a few things going on over the last week or two. The North Tonawanda Botanical Gardens organization has now become incorporated. They are now, will be looking for grants. We had a work session, work day, which are usually Saturdays from 9 until noon. And we had several volunteers out there doing hard work, pulling up landscape tarp. And it was a hard-working morning. We got a lot done. And it's an example of the community working alongside the city and getting things done, beautifying that gardens. And I really applaud the group. I applaud the volunteers. They have a board of directors now. There are things in place there that's really taken shape, as the mayor may have mentioned and hinted upon. It's going to become a destination like it once was. And slowly but surely, we're seeing the sustainability and the restoration of that park. So please, if you haven't already, stop by, take a look, take part. Look on Facebook. They have a page on Facebook. This is a good group with good people with long-term commitments, and they are really doing good things, and I'm proud to notice them. Also, speaking of notice, Mr. Gosh, I'm going to say, you've been thanked and re-thanked, but I'll thank you again for your service, for our freedom, for fighting for our country, and for being an outstanding resident. So that banner is well-deserved, and we were proud that we could present that to you tonight. Also, there are some street progress with the paving. I think this paver that we talked about tonight is going to be very helpful in getting things done faster. We are way ahead of schedule as we were in previous years. Last year, we paved 11 lane miles, which was kind of one of our high points for how much we got done. By the end of this, we're still finishing our closing streets that we still need to finish up on, and we will probably have close to 15 to 16 lane miles, which is in the last few years unheard of on the budget that we have. With the efficiency of the department, in some cases, stripping the roads, paving them the next day, the turnaround time, they ought to be applauded, because there are a lot of things you can talk about in the city, things that people can see and can't see. Some people can't see code enforcement, some people can. But you can appreciate the roads and the progress in the city if you look and you and listen to what people are doing. And become involved, because the people that I see becoming involved are very passionate people, and they're committed, and they're not going to waver, which is a great feeling that we've got the right people in the right community, and NT is going to become a destination more and more, as well as botanical gardens. Other than that, I'd like to close the meeting, and I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
One item, I don't know if you wanted to mention it, Painters Plus for this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you want to? Well, I also, speaking of Painters Plus, Jesse Gooch did give us a council and mayor recognition plaque for supporting his events, for having the concerts on the Gratwick, for helping to facilitate what he needed to do to work with 97 Rock. And I don't need him to thank us, I'd like to thank him for taking a chance on these 8 to 10 events that were very, very successful, and every year we hope that they progress and they get bigger and better and bringing more people to our waterfront. Just like that Gratwick, when we had the Thunder on the Niagara. It's an international event, people. That's amazing. You've got Canada, you had a guy from New Zealand, you have people coming from all over to your city to enjoy your waterfront. And our people, you don't have to live on the waterfront to enjoy our waterfront. These are the kinds of events, and I wanted to thank Jesse for giving the mayor and myself a plaque and the council themselves. We're gonna hang this proudly in city chambers, council chambers, because we appreciate him investing in our community. And those concerts brought people and they had fun and they were a family event, just like he promised and he delivered. I'll let the mayor talk about the Project Hope.
Along with Mr. Jesse Gooch, who puts on these concerts, along with the sponsors. The big sponsor this year was 97 Rock and Hunt Real Estate. They did a super job, but we drew quite a large number of crowds. Last year, if you remember, Thursday nights, it rained almost every single night of the week, or every Thursday night of the week. And a lot of canceled concerts, but this year they were able to go on full force. And a good sum of that money that comes in goes to our local Meals on Wheels. So they were able to benefit tremendously this year, and we're very happy for that. Along with that, every year Mr. Gooch does the Project Hope for the community, where someone in need, their house needs painting, whatever, it's in bad shape, and the people are having a very difficult time and are unable to afford it. He brings his volunteers, and they paint a house every year in our city of someone, either in the past it's been someone that's been very physically ill, other times been a veteran who needs help. We've done this now, I think, for 8 years. He's done this. And this year, they've even added a house in the city of Tonawanda who has a resident that's very severely in need. And he does this on his own. He brings his workers and they volunteer. They volunteer, and then a lot of the city people, the council people, and other volunteers in the city show up to paint a house. And this is gonna come up, when is it, this Saturday. So, two very fortunate people will have their house painted free of charge, and it'll look like new when he finishes. He's very generous, and we thank him for all he has done for our community, and now has also added the city of Tonawanda. That's pretty generous on his part. So I just thought, I'm glad you reminded me.
Yes, thank you.
Because that's very important, and he should be acknowledged for that. Thank you.
All right, at this point, I think we can adjourn at this point. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned.
John?
Oh, but